the only way we can keep what we have is by giving it away. The only way that I can keep this process and this journey of recovery is if I share it with other people. Because like, that's when my life changed. I failed 11 out of 12 on the 12-panel drug test. You know what I mean? Like the only thing I didn't fail for was PCP. When you're grasped in the chains of addiction, right? It doesn't become a choice anymore. You don't wake up and just choose to be that, right? Like it all stems from mental health, regardless of whatever your path is, right? As long as you're not hurting yourself, hurting other people, and you're happy in your life, whatever you're doing to stay clean, man, whatever your path is, like I'm gonna support you, I'm gonna give you a hug, I'm gonna tell you good job, I'm gonna tell you to come around our recovery community. And that's where like I kind of separate myself from the traditional, you know, recovery process and the traditional treatment centers. And this is why a lot of them don't like me, right? Is because I am so open-minded, right? Like you gotta change with the times, man. I truly don't believe that there's anybody out there that's too far gone.
All right. I'm super excited to have you here today, Nick. Thank you for fucking joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I think today's probably one of the most important episodes we can really do. Nick, the work you do is so important. And I think that, you know, addiction and mental health, you know, sometimes I don't think people really understand what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big issue I think that people have as far as wrapping their head around, you know, mental health and substance abuse. And, you know, I've been in this field, you know, helping people for, shoot, man, coming up on like 10 years now. You know, I'm tired, but, you know, it's mentally and emotionally draining, but it's a big problem in our world, not just, you know, in our vicinity, right? But like, I think throughout the whole world, you know, mental health and substance abuse is something that's definitely been very detrimental to people. And, you know, with the fentanyl epidemic and things like that, yeah. And it's definitely kept me busy, you know, but I've been able to, you know, help a lot of families, man. And,
well, I'll tell you, man, I mean, we were fortunate to meet you through, you know, Up Next Fighting. I mean, our family considers you a friend, you know what I mean? And I have to tell you, you've really educated me a lot, you know, in this space. And I think your background and, you know, prepping to have you on this podcast, I think was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, honestly, Nick, every time we speak, I leave inspired and motivated just by your story, your drive, and like in everything. I think it's just, you know, whoever listens to this podcast is going to leave inspired and motivated 100% by what you do. So like my dad said, you're definitely a friend to us. We all fucking respect you and what you do. And I think if there's more people like you caring as much as you do, you know, this problem would, you know, it would help a little bit for sure.
I appreciate that, man. And, you know, I you know, you guys are friends to me too. You know what I mean? From the minute I met you guys, I was just like, yo, I love these guys. You know what I mean? Like, because like you guys listened, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people, you know, in this world, or people that are doing different businesses and different platforms that they're not interested in this issue, right? They're not interested in, you know, mental health and substance abuse, or hearing someone's story that's came up from, you know, being homeless to, you know, whatever it is. Like a lot of people aren't, you know, interested in it. They're kind of just like, oh yeah, that's cool. You know what I mean? And keep it moving. But you guys actually, it's near and dear to your heart. You know what I mean? And it's not, you're not just trying to accomplish one thing with Up Next Fighting, right? Like you're trying to send a message while doing it, you know? And Kris, with your background and, you know, kind of being educated on the, you know, substance abuse side, at least we thought you were educated.
Listen, bro,
we thought you were.
No, let's be honest, man. Like I really thought I was. I thought I had it all figured out. You know, I mean, you know, coming from my generation, mental health, in my opinion, at the beginning was bullshit. I'll be honest. Right. And, you know, when then I looked at addiction, I used to think, oh, addiction's a choice. If you don't want to be on drugs, just get off drugs. And you've really like opened up my eyes. And like, you know, who better to really be spreading this message, Nick, than you, just with your background, what you've been through. Mm-hmm. And you know, what's really kind of cool about you too is like, you're the poster child of like, you can make it. Yeah. No matter what your background is.
Yep, absolutely. And that's really the message that I try to send. And again, I'll never forget coming here and sitting down with you the first day. And it's not like you made it like a comment or anything of like, oh, well, why don't people just stop?
Call it as it is, bro.
You know what I mean? But
throw
like,
me under the bus.
I could tell that you were just kind of like, yeah, well, I mean, if you're a drug addict, you're a drug addict. Yep. You know what I mean? Just like, so just stop doing drugs. You know what I mean? Yep. That's kind of like the vibe that I got. And then there's like, oh, well, there's people with mental health, you know what I mean? But there's, you know, there's junkies and then there's people that have like mental health issues, right? That's kind of like what your outlook was. And that, I think that's a lot of people's, it's almost like a, you know, old school outlook, right?
Yeah, he is old.
I mean, I think I said it without saying it, but you know what I mean?
Are you being
But,
gentle?
you know,
You guys are being gentle on me.
Yeah, we'll take it easy on you, Kris. But, but you know, I'll never forget coming and sitting down with you and kind of seeing that switch go off, right? You know, there's not, you know, people, it's not a choice. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a choice. And like, yes, we do wake up with choices every day, but when you're grasped in the chains of addiction, right, and substance abuse, it doesn't become a choice anymore. You know, yes, you have the choice to do something about it, but it's not like people woke up one day and was like, you know what, I'm going to be a heroin addict.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to be a crackhead, right? Like I'm going to be like, you don't wake up and just choose to be that, right? Like it starts off with, I think most people like myself, you know, started off as a kid just having fun, right? Like I was just doing drugs, party. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like partying, like, you know, before I knew I was like a drug addict or someone with that, you know, had mental health issues, like it was fun for me, you know? And then when it was time to stop, right? And I think a lot of people, they do go through a phase, right? Where they can have a little party phase and then they stop, they get up, they go to work, whatever. Like they don't necessarily like struggle with that, right? But there's also people that when it's time to stop being a kid, right? And stop partying, like it's, those chains are still attached, you know what I mean? And like, it all stems from mental health. You know what I mean? There's no, okay, this guy's a drug addict, this person's someone with mental health. Here's drug addicts, here's people with mental health. Drug addicts are junkies. They're the homeless people that are sitting behind.
You better be careful using that J word because Renee doesn't like the word junkies.
Renee
I just want to,
you know, but she's probably going to cuss me out after this, but you know, but it's like, that's society's outlook, right? It's the J word, right? That's what we call it, the J word. And, you know, it's not always the person that's sitting behind the dumpster that's homeless on Skid Row out here in LA, right? Like it could be someone within, you know, a friend of yours. Like, look, I've been doing this 10 years. I put doctors, lawyers, police officers, you know, EMTs, like, you know, I was at one of your fights, you know, and one of the EMTs, one of the guys that was working the fight, one of the EMTs there walked up to me and he was like, hey man, you know, he'd been following your stuff. I think we had posted some stuff together and he was like, you know, I just want to let, he's got his full uniform on. He's at work. He's like, I just want to let you know, man, that, you know, you really inspired me. You know, I got sober a couple years ago or something like that. And, you know, I've been working this job and I'm like, you know, it just shows you right there. Like we're at a fight and one of the EMTs walks up to me. And if you're a regular person and you saw this guy, you wouldn't think he's a drug addict or
he's
alcoholic,
an EMT, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
one thing that I've kind of come across, you know, in the whole, you know, combat sports community, a lot of these guys have dealt with challenges all their lives, right? They don't come from the easiest sort of background. So, you know, it's really inspiring to see you have some of these guys on your podcast, see you interact with these guys to really make a difference in their lives.
Yeah. And I think it's super important, right? And one thing that I took from, you know, early on in my recovery, right? Whenever I got clean, I've been clean for, you know, this coming June will be 10 years. But, you know, one thing that I took away is that the only way we can keep what we have is by giving it away. You know what I mean? And that's recovery, right? The only way that I can keep this process and this journey of recovery is if I share it with other people. You know what I mean? And I help other individuals and I try to, you know, inspire and push other people that have a story to like get it out there and help other people. Cause like, that's when my life changed.
You know, one of the things too, Ryan, I think, it doesn't matter what you've come through, you know, or what you've been through. It really matters the journey that you're on and where you end up. And I think, you know, you prepped for this podcast with Nick. Were you kind of surprised about some of the challenges Nick's had to deal with in his life and really what you've been able to accomplish at this point?
Yeah, it's nuts. Like I said, man, it's truly an inspiring story. And I think it's great because you've been through the ringer, right? You've been through a bunch of shit. Yeah. You've had to deal with a bunch of stuff. But for people struggling, maybe going through the same things, you're just a great example. Look at you now, man.
Well, I
He's
think
driving. He has nicer eyes than both of us. No, but seriously,
hey, you guys are hard to beat.
He is pretty damn handsome. But I mean, that's the point of this podcast, right? Like, I mean, I truly want people to look at you and be inspired, right? I mean, you were addicted, you were homeless, you've lost a family member, bro, and now you're on the top of the world running a successful business, about to be married. Yeah. And knock on wood, bro, you got your shit together.
Yeah. No, it's been a journey, man, you know, and like I said, it's taken me, 10 years to, nine and a half years or so to get to where I'm at today. Right. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people, they overlook, right? Sometimes they're like, oh yeah, well, this guy just woke up one day, or, he comes from a good family, and they give, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, dude, like I was homeless, like literally homeless.
Let's talk about the journey a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So when did you realize you had a drug addiction, or when you had to change, or, kind of when did this all start?
So initially, where I started going to rehab centers, and again, I say that plural because I didn't get it. I didn't get it my first time.
A few times, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the success rate on someone getting it their first time is very low.
Right.
What are those percentages like the first time?
So I only know the percentages on, I'm not a big statistics guy whenever it comes to the recovery process, because I think every individual is different.
100%.
You know what I mean? And, people do look at numbers, but they do say that there's a 7% success, and it might even be lower today, but don't quote me on it, but a 7% success rate when it comes to abstinence-based treatment, right? And that's, just straight Alcoholics Anonymous, you know what I mean? Drink some coffee, no medications, like just doing it that way, right? And
do you believe in that way? Or do you think that's
I
not
think
the
for
right
some
way?
I think for some people it works, but I think that this isn't, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous was wrote in 1939. You know what I mean? So back in 1939, like there was no fentanyl. You know what I mean? There was no carfentanil. There was no, like people going to get a Xanax bar and then dying of a fentanyl overdose. Like back then they were sniffing cocaine and drinking alcohol. You know what I mean? So you have to change with the times. And this is like what I'm a big advocate for is I'm a very big like harm reduction person. You know what I mean? Like I don't believe that everybody needs to be absolutely 100% like clean and sober, right? That's just my outlook on it and like what I've seen success wise. Now, do I think an alcoholic should go back to drinking? No. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do I think a heroin addict should go back to using heroin? No. But do I think that there's medications and other ways of recovery? Absolutely. Right. There's, Suboxone maintenance, which is I've seen save a lot of people, Suboxone. Am I a huge advocate for that? Not really. I'd love to see people on a lower dose, we kind of have a cap on, the harm reduction as far as like, medications and things and milligrams, as far as like keeping them at a dose that's not keeping them high, right?
Yeah.
But, with Suboxone, what it does is it triggers your opioid receptors. So what it does is it still makes you feel like you're using an opioid, but you're not going to die from it, right? Yeah. So I think, the goal isn't to stay on that your entire life, right? But to tell someone because they're on a medication, or whether it's, for us, the Healthier Choice Recovery, we believe that, cannabis is a safe and effective recovery tool. We have, when it comes to Patrick's Purpose Sober Living, we have regulations around, people being able to use that medication. It's not a, hey, come here, sit, get high all day and do nothing with your life. No, but I don't believe that, it's a one size fits all process.
Right. Like recovery is a little more complex than maybe the old school people would think, right? Like you just get off it and get to it, and the way you're explaining
old school, you're talking like old people like me that are like stuck in their ways and just kind of think
not stuck in their ways anymore. But honestly, I just think the same way as you, right? Because I was never educated on like, you kind of think a drug addict is doing drugs by choice and they don't want to get off it.
Yeah.
They're, they just don't want to, or whatever it is. But I think after speaking to you the first time, well, not the first time we met, first time we actually got to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
I left inspired and like motivated. I'm like, this is a bigger problem than maybe we think it is. And it's not, like you're explaining, recovery is not a one size fits all, right? And it could, more resources and people got to put a little more into like structuring it for certain people.
But what I think is important too is like people have to know that there's help out there. Right?
Yeah.
And they have to know that they can get through this and that they can live a life of abundance and live a happy life. But they've got to, like these athletes that we deal with, you got to put the work in to get there. Right?
Yeah, no. And it comes down to like, you have to know that there's help out there, one, two. And two is like, you're not going to be judged. Right. And that's where like, I kind of come in as someone different in the recovery community. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is regardless of whatever your path is, right? As long as you're not hurting yourself, hurting other people, and you're happy in your life, whatever you're doing to stay clean, man, whatever your path is, like, I'm going to support you. I'm going to give you a hug. I'm going to tell you good job. I'm going to tell you to come around our recovery community. I don't care if it's cannabis that is your vice, you know what I mean? Whatever medications that you're on, like if you're not going back to your drug of choice, right? And you're moving forward in life, like, I'm still going to tell you good job. I'm still going to tell you you're in recovery and that you're clean. Right. And that's where like I kind of separate myself from the traditional, recovery process in the traditional treatment centers. And this is why a lot of them don't like me. Right. Is because I am so open-minded. Right. Like, you got to change with the times, man. 100%. Like you do. And it's like, it comes down to, that subject of, substance abuse and mental health. Right. And this is kind of where, I was able to kind of like get you to think differently, Kris, is, it's not, there's no reason for separation there. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason for separation because it is one and the same, right? People use different vices to go through their mental health issues. Some people use substance abuse, right? Because it all comes down to a core issue. It's not the drugs that's the problem, right? It's the core issue and why are you using, right? And it's the people with mental health that use other outlets, right? People they go into isolation, depression, pornography. They do, you know what I mean? Excessive shopping.
That's right.
Domestic
Pornography
violence.
is Ryan, just so you know.
Yeah.
I think so.
Ryan
I was in his room the other day and there's an issue. Listen. But
wait, hold on. Wait, what are you talking about?
Look, I'm just trying to give you shit. But one thing, Nick, I think that's really important. Like, how does someone realize that they have a problem, right? And I think in today's world, is mental health becoming just a bigger issue, or is there just more awareness around it? Because for me, it just seems like there's so many issues going on in our world today.
Yeah.
What are your sort of thoughts on?
So I think that, like, mental health is at an all-time high these days, right? A lot of people are going broke. You know what I mean? Like, the economy's shit. I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on here or not. But
You can do whatever you want.
Like, it's at an all-time high right now. You know what I mean? And I think that for a person that only right? Because I've seen people that have continued to run their business, like on a whim, but like still going home and being a closet drinker, right? Yeah. But they're still getting up and they're going to work and they're doing their job. But at the same time, like, they're coming back and just, drinking or doing drugs, when no one's around, right? So you have those types of people. And then you have people that are just flat out like cannot, be successful in this world, right? Or even just be a productive member of society, right? If you can't hold a job, you can't hold family relationships, you're having problems in your life, you got to look at you. You know what I mean? And it took a lot of time for me even, right, to stop pointing the finger at other people. You know what I mean? And I finally started pointing the finger at me. Because it's like everywhere I went, I seem to have these problems. And these people don't even know each other. Right.
Yeah.
So like that was a big eye opener for me. Like, oh shit, maybe I'm the problem.
But what did it take? Because, I'm big on self-awareness, right? I really try to be but a lot of people are not. Like, what did it take for you to really realize that you were the problem, that you needed to change?
So I finally went through and again, like even when I went to rehab the first time, I was like, I'm only going because my mom wants me to go. And,
this is stupid. I'm going to go make my mom happy.
Yeah, exactly. Like mom's crying, right? Like, I don't like to see my mom cry. Like, okay, I'm going to go get help, right? You guys think I need help. I'm going to go get help, and went through a treatment center and then tried to come back to, Illinois. I'm originally from Southern Illinois and tried to go back to Illinois and ended up in the same situation. And I was like, shit, like maybe it is me. Like, maybe I do have a problem, And then I went back to a rehab and I was like, oh, but, I'm not like these other people in here, right? Because I would hear people raise their hand and be like, oh, yeah, well, I, robbed an old lady at an ATM so I could go get a crack rock.
You're like, I would never do that.
Yeah, I'm not like these people. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, obviously I landed in this treatment center for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I failed 11 out of 12 on the 12-panel drug test. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing I didn't fail for was PCP. Seriously, you know what I mean? And still, like, it's just like, and I still in my head was like, I'm not really a drug.
So that was that turning point when you looked yourself in the mirror. I'm the problem. I need help.
My turning point took for me to be homeless, bro. And this is what I try to express to everybody. It's like, you don't have to ride it till the wheels fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to drive it all the way into the ground to where you have I'm literally down to 1 pair of shoes and 2 pairs of clothes, right? And I still, like, I tell everybody this, like, keep those shoes that I was homeless in, that are these beat up Jordans that somebody gave me out of rehab center, up in my closet. So it's like the first pair of shoes that I see before I go pick my pair of shoes for the day is those shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see those first. And it reminds me every single morning about where I came from. But it took me being hard-headed as shit, right? Like I'm just super hard headed, and I had to bang my head up against that wall multiple times to realize that like, oh shit, maybe I'm grasped by this thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm literally homeless. You know what I'm saying? Like I come from a good family. You know what I mean? My dad's just retired. He was an orthopedic surgeon. You know, my mom's gonna retire in April. She's been a nurse for 50 years. You know, like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I went through some trouble. Mom or dad cheated on mom, you know, got divorced, like, you know, kind of went through those things. But, you know, like financially, you know what I mean? Like I didn't really have like a lot of like issues as a child. You know what I'm saying? As I got older, my dad cut me off. You know what I mean? Like I just rekindled that relationship, you know, literally just earlier this year. You know, I hadn't talked to my dad, and I remember the first time we talked, you know, and
you brought that up.
I have to tell you, I have family members that I don't talk to, right? But I think seeing that story and seeing that play out, you guys going to Ireland together, and you just sort of reuniting and doing that is just amazing. Because if I got the story right, like he gives you a call or he texts you or something, within 48 hours, you're on that plane, you're going to see him, and you did what was right to bring your family back together.
I did, man. And I, you know, my biggest fear, right? And, you know, his best friend was, you know, passing away. He was on hospice. He had cancer. And my dad's best friend, really the only friend that my dad has, that's like a real friend. He was on his deathbed, and my dad went to see him, and he said, Tom, wherever you go, when you pass away, like I want to go there too. And he was like, well, then you need to reconcile with your family. You know?
Why does it take hitting rock bottom? Why does it take us losing someone for us to do the right thing and really, you know, do what's right? Why does it take something traumatic?
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't have to, right? And that's kind of where a lot of people don't have access to a person like me. And I'm not trying to like talk myself up, right? But
we'll talk you up, because in all honesty, we're kind of picky on who we're going to work with on this podcast and whose message we want to get out there. And I think because you're, you know, one of our first guests, I mean, you're very important.
Yeah.
You know, and you are someone that we have 100% faith in, that if people go to, they're going to get the help that they need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's an issue with that, right? Is that people don't have someone to turn to. You know what I'm saying? People don't, you know, you'd be surprised how many people just have no idea what to do in the situation, right? And that's why I think it takes people a lot longer. You know, something traumatic does have to happen. And you know, the words of, you know, hit rock bottom. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, there's no rock, man. There's always a trap door. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always, you can always get lower, you know? You know, people don't really have access to like resources or someone for me to come and sit down and be like, look, man, like, you know, you don't have to be the homeless guy, right? You don't have to be the person that has a needle in their arm, right? Like, you don't have to be the person that tried to commit suicide. Like, you don't have to go there, right? Like, and it's a pride thing too, right? And I think even with you guys and working with fighters and stuff too is, you know, it's a pride thing. We're men, right? Yeah. Like we're supposed to be able to, you know, just control it. Like my dad used to tell me, just quit, you know, just quit.
Yeah, man, I have a little bit of your dad in me. Yeah. I kind of have that mentality, you know what I mean? And now I've really kind of tried to educate myself and understand that, you know, there's more to it. And I think, you know, people being able to open up and share their feelings. Like you had Rayshawn Rowland on your podcast, and wow, what an inspiring podcast to know what Ray has gone through in his life and what he struggles with.
Yeah.
I really feel like he was a different person after that podcast, because you gave him that platform to share his feelings and kind of get that out.
And I think it's super important for everybody to do that. You know what I mean? And that's what I really try to encourage people to do is like, don't be silent. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, some people with their careers and stuff like that, they they got to keep it on the low, and, you know, which is understandable. You know what I mean? But, you know, some people want their anonymity, but I think people that have a light, right? That have a spotlight of some sort or a platform to be able to speak about it and share their story. Like when my family tried to come to me, I was like, fuck you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a drug addict. Like, fuck you guys.
That's one thing I want to ask you too, is like, we're talking about people that have mental health and have drug problems.
Yeah.
So say people that have a family member that's going through that.
Yeah.
How do you think the family, close friends, how do people best deal with that to help the person struggling?
So that's the tough part, right? It's like, you know, your family's the ones that love you the most, right? Yeah. And you love them the most. But they could bring you this life on a silver platter, right? And be like, yo, if you know, humble yourself, go get some help, and you would slap that silver platter out of their hand. Like, no, I'm not listening to you guys. It's a pride thing, right? It is. It's like family at the same time. And I only understand it now, right? Because like I went through it myself where like they would try to tell me something and it's like, no, like no, you know, like fuck my family. But there was a guy that I didn't know from fucking Adam that shared his story, you know, at a meeting one time that was like telling my story that I caught him outside. I was like, yo, man, like you just told my story in there. You know what I mean? Like how'd you get to like where you're at, you know? And I'm more open-minded to those people.
So a complete stranger was more impactful than your family members.
Yeah, because I could resonate with him, right? Like, and it goes for a lot of people, and it's even in treatment centers, right? Where people are like with their therapist, right? Well, if they've never struggled with mental health, like, you know, but you're also not going to go to a cancer doctor and tell him that he doesn't know anything about cancer. Right. You know what I mean? Because that's just a fact, right? Like he knows about cancer. He's a cancer doctor. He went to school for years, right? But when it comes to mental health in the treatment industry, it's like with their therapist, it's like, oh, well, you never were a drug addict or you never struggled with mental health. Like, why am I going to listen to you? You know what I mean? And it's more, you can still hear things from people like that, right? You can still like learn things and like, you know, it help you. But in the beginning, it's more of like you don't know shit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what I've been through.
Speaking of someone like you who's kind of been through it, right? I think you can resonate with that a lot more. And really take what you say and there's validity.
Yeah, it's not like you should do, like you. It's not like pointing the finger with me, right? It's like, hey, we. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we do, right? This is what I did. You know what I mean? It's not you. This is what you got to do. It's like, hey, this is what I did. Like, this was my process. You know what I'm saying? This is what I've been through. And it's like, you can do it if you want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll put the tools on the table for you. Now, whether you pick them up or not, that's totally up to you, right? But I feel like I get farther with families, you know, and the loved ones of families, you know, rather farther than they do themselves because, you know, I don't like interventions. You know what I'm saying? Like where they got the whole family in there and the kids sitting there and like, that shit is like traumatizing and overwhelming, dude.
I used to watch that show and I used to like believe in that. Like, I swear this is how dumb I am, bro. Like I used to watch that show and like
you're pretty dumb.
Believe in that. No, like listen, in this space, I really am because I think the way I grew up, I mean, everybody thinks, you know, maybe I had this easy upbringing, but I don't know that it was as challenging as your upbringing, to be honest, but my life hasn't been easy. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, it's been so educational to kind of really understand what's going on in the world with mental health and the addiction and everything that, you know, you've been through. I mean, you were adopted, right? Yeah. You acted out, you went to boarding school, like all these things that you've done. And then to kind of see where you're at now and making that difference.
Yeah, no, I wish it was a boarding school. It was a
boot, what was it like? You got in there.
It's like, hey, we're going to beat your ass for 4 months straight. You know what I'm saying?
Things and this is why
you ever seen that?
No, this is why I fuck with you like this because I used to believe in stuff like that. I used to, okay, that's the way. If Ryan was acting up, let me send him away to that fucking boys camp or whatever. But thank God, you know, my kids have all been pretty good. I never had these kinds of issues. Right. But you know, I kind of believed in that shit.
No, I get it, and a lot of people do, right? And it's like, again, like changing with the times. Like they literally came and took me in the middle of the night, and I was gone for 11 months, right? No fun.
They handcuffed you going through the airport.
Yes, handcuffed me going through the airport. Like I'm fucking like 14 years old, dude. Like I'm 14, 15. Like what the fuck is going on, you know? And
you still have connections with those people, so we could get them to take Ryan.
No, dude, they got shut down. They got like lawsuits on them, and, like breaking kids' arms and stuff. Like I remember when the lawsuit started.
Sounds like place.
You know, but I remember when the lawsuit, they all had, you know, like camouflage on and BDUs and like the drill sergeant hats and stuff. And then when the lawsuits happened, they changed it all to tracksuits. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't look like a boot camp, but they were still beating the shit out of you. You know?
Did you know? I mean, you were obviously fucking around and everything. Did you know that was coming? Or was
no, I had no. I swear to God.
You once like we're gonna send you to camp. You keep fucking around.
No, they didn't even warn him. He was just fucking off.
I'm just making sure.
I know Nick's story better than you know it. Like, no, he's just fucking running with the wrong crew of kids. Parents were very unhappy with his life choice, where it's going. Fucking middle of the night, they come, they gaffle him up, take him to the airport, handcuff him, and then he's
Gone for 11 months. So like I didn't get a phone call for 7 months, right? I didn't get a visit for 9 months. And then I was actually supposed to graduate after 9 months, but I was there for 11 months.
11, yeah.
I was a
You're a little,
I tried to quit a couple times.
So wait, I want to know, how was that first phone call? Was that to your parents? Or?
Yeah. It was like
were
from
you
me to Chris in the I don't know what they called the lady. She's like a therapist there. I don't know, case manager, right?
Yeah.
From me to Chris, case manager right there. I have one phone and the case manager has the other. Like this. We're talking to my mom. And I'm over here like, God damn it, I just want to tell her what's going on here. But I know they're just going to click the thing, you know? Like, yeah, he's lying. He's just trying to get out of here. But like, no, bro, that shit was fucked up. And I will stand on that to this day.
Were you pissed at your parents for sending you off? Like,
I had some resentment. I knew it came from my dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that, you know, my mom, you know, is sweet as
your family, like, I think I'm kind of like your dad a little bit.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Mom is like the mom, like, you know, the loving, the nurturing. I'm like Mr. Old
my
school
whole
guy,
life, I
tough
can never
love.
do any wrong in my mom's eyes.
Yeah,
your eyes completely different.
Dude, no, listen, Ryan could be like right out on the street, fucking shoot somebody right in front of my wife, and my wife would be like, I didn't see a thing. That wasn't my son.
That's not my son.
That's not my son.
My son would never do it.
She's a rider.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my wife's a ride or die.
He is
like,
too, but behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't snack me, but you know, he'll give it to me for sure. Yeah.
No, I get that. I definitely, my dad's one of the kind of guys that even like whenever we were younger, you know what I mean? And, you know, we'd be pissed off or we hadn't seen him in a while or, you know, not to say that, you know, we did like every other weekend over there or something whenever they got divorced. And he would always just like, he didn't know what to do. He would just like take us to Toys R Us and we'd just like,
buy
here, get a Nerf gun or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, love you, son.
Yeah, and I think that some people don't sort of realize, I think old school people, we were brought up kind of differently too, right? Like, you got to understand that time and that love is what really matters. It's not always the material things that really make a difference in your life.
Yeah, no, and that got put in perspective for me, like, you know, after, you know, I lost my brother, you know, is what's important in this life. You know what I mean? Money comes, money goes. You know what I mean? Material stuff. Don't get me wrong. I like nice shit. You know,
we all do, right? But it really, it's not
you don't take none of this shit with you, right? And tomorrow is never promised. Most importantly,
well, the one thing I like about you too is like, yeah, you do like the nicer things, but you know a who's who, of people, and you are just the kindest, like coolest fucking dude. And I think that you're one of those guys that the material things or the money doesn't define who and what you are.
It's not who I am, and even more so like this year, you know what I'm saying? Even this year has like changed me, you know what I mean? And like what my priorities are and like where my headspace is and like, you know, watching, you know, I'm engaged now and like I'm watching my fiance's mother, you know, on hospice. She's got ALS and like, you know, like watching that and like watching her, you know, lose her mother and, you know, seeing my dad for the first time and, you know, however long, like I saw him at my sister's funeral, or not my sister's funeral, I'm sorry, my sister's wedding last year.
Wedding is kind of a funeral.
Yeah, no, that's what I hear. That's what I hear. Some of the homies bring a casket out, like.
He keeps telling me not to get married, so.
Yeah, man.
No, it's been a year for you, right? And I think, you know, because I follow your journey, right? Like it's been a tough year just thinking about your brother. Can you tell us a little bit more about Patrick?
Yeah.
Kind of his story a little bit and how he's inspired.
So the sober living that I own is actually called Patrick's Purpose. You know, named after my brother that, you know, I lost from a fentanyl overdose in 2019. I actually got him tatted on my arm right here, and I actually put some of his ashes like in the ink of the tattoo. Yeah, so he's like in my arm.
Can I ask you a question? Was it an overdose or was it a poisoning? Like, did he know shit had fentanyl in it?
Right. So that I don't believe that he knew, but I also don't believe that he cared. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that, you know, my mom finally had a dream. I think it was like last year. And she had like a conversation with him. And because I always ask myself, like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, because he was doing so well. Yeah. You know, we were in the gym together every day. You know, he was he was doing an AA. He had like a sponsor in AA. And I got him a job in a moving company, you know, with a bunch of other guys in recovery. Like it was like a sober moving company down in Florida, which was super cool. And, you know, everything was good, I thought, you know. And then I took a trip to go speak at a conference. I used to travel the whole country and speak in schools and prisons and jails and churches. Like I was traveling, you know what I mean? I'm on the road 4 to 6 weeks at a time, speaking in 30 different cities. Like I love it. And, you know, we got in an argument, but it wasn't like like it was just like some brother shit. I mean, you got a brother, bro. I'm sure you guys.
We used to
Yes, he
Yeah. I mean, we duked it out.
And then 1 hour later, you just see him like,
Yeah, exactly,
straight up.
exactly. And
Or like it's like nothing ever happened. 30 minutes later. It's
yeah, no, and that's kind of what that was. Is like I can't even remember what we were bitching about, man. It was just bitching. Like it was like nothing like serious, and like then like that was on a Friday, and then we were texting back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And I never go back to our text messages because I don't want to see that part. You know what I mean? But like, on Saturday, I just didn't like how our conversation left off. And I was never really the person to be like, to come to someone and be like, okay, I was wrong. Or, or like, I always had like a big ego, like really
stubborn.
Yeah. Especially with your brother, right? Like you can't like back down to your brother. Like,
Yeah.
But something just came over me, man, that I was just like, and I never had the perspective of, okay, tomorrow's never promised. But like, I sent him a text the next day and I was just like, I love you, bro. And he sent me a text back and he said, I love you too. And that was on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I flew back into Florida and got home and, my car was like, empty. I'm like, this motherfucker didn't put no gas in my car. Like, what the fuck? And took my dogs outside, man, because he's supposed to be watching my dogs. And I'm calling his phone and his phone's just going straight to voicemail. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I take my dogs outside and they're shitting like 3-4 times. You know what I mean? Just kept using the bathroom. I'm like, he hasn't been taking care of my dogs. Like, and I'm starting to get upset. Then I was like, what if? You know what I mean? And I'm asking my other roommates, I'm like, yo, have you seen Pat? Like, I didn't think to like go up to his room because my car was in the driveway, and I went up to his room and I touched the door handle and it was locked. And like, as soon as I touched the door handle, I just like, I knew, and I had to use a, credit card to like open the door and, open the door, and it was just too late. Like I tried to resuscitate him. I tried to use Narcan. Like he'd been gone for too long, but like, like when it comes to, do I think that he intentionally used fentanyl? I don't know, man. I just know that he had every intent on getting high, and this is like kind of right when it really overtook, like it was like the year before that, I believe, is when the fentanyl really started to flood. It was like 2017, 2018 is really like, I missed that wave of the whole fentanyl thing, but I think like 2017, 2018 is really when it started to flood South Florida and just kind of flood our country, right? But he, I found one of the capsules that, he left empty or whatever, ambulance comes, police come, all that stuff. And it was just like probably the worst day of my life, man, and I had 3.5 years clean at the time. And, I started to slip into a depression. I got into therapy and like really tried to get ahead of it, and thank God I had the headspace and the spiritual fulfillment that I had at the time, just working on myself and being plugged in with the community. And, because it's not like, and I tell people all the time, it's not like just because we get clean, right? Just because you take care of your mental health doesn't mean that like life stops, right? It doesn't mean that like bad things stop happening. Like people are still going to pass away, man. Like that's life. You're going to lose jobs, right? You're going to fucking, have people that talk shit about you. You're going to have failed relationships. Like all these things are still going to happen, but are you going to be spiritually fit enough to handle it? Right. Yeah. So it's like, okay, when life gets good, people want to stop that process. They're like, oh, okay, well, I don't really need to be around people in recovery anymore. I don't need to, go to a meeting. I don't need to be in the environment because everything's cool now. Right. But like, that's not the case. It's an ongoing process. Right. And, I introduced myself as like, at meetings, right. Whether they're support groups or, an NA meeting, like my name's Nick, and people typically say, and my name's so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic. Right. Yeah. My name's so-and-so, I'm an addict. Right. Like, I don't say that about myself. I'm a person in long-term recovery, right? I'm not someone like that's recovered, right? Like it's still an ongoing process for me. Like I'm not cured, you know what I mean? Like I'm not, but I'm also not a drug addict, and I'm not going to say that about myself because it's not who I am today. But am I fully aware that if I stop doing the things that I need to do, right? If I stop doing those things that spiritually fulfill me, if I stop being involved in doing what I love, right? Which is like helping other people. Like there's a chance that I could fall back into that crack. You know what I mean?
I think it's pretty powerful that you realize that.
Yeah.
Like the fight's not over. The journey's not over. But And I don't want to get too deep on you, but I know
You can get as deep as you want, brother.
Well, no, Sam. So I do a lot of work in the space of counterfeit pharmaceuticals and things like that. So I've dealt with parents who have lost their kids to fentanyl.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked whether it was an overdose or a poisoning is because, again, I got educated by someone where someone's daughter had passed away, and I used the term overdose. He said, "Oh, no, Kris, it wasn't an overdose. This was a poisoning because my daughter did not make the choice to use fentanyl.
Yeah.
The dealer had given that." But
Yeah.
both of these parents both found their kids that passed away. And so they say that that's one of the most traumatic things they've ever dealt with in their life. And I can't imagine finding your brother and kind of what you went through.
Yeah, no, it's still like, it feels like it's yesterday. You know what I mean? Like I still, like my mom will call me like still like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's one thing to lose like a sibling, right? But as a mother to bury your child is like, that's different. You know what I mean? It's just different. And like, just my mom she'll call me sometimes and she'll just be like, I just wanted to hear your voice because, like I'm really missing Pat today. You know what I mean? And it's just tough, bro, and it's like, that's why I continue to, do what I do, is because like, I don't want families to have to feel like my family feels, and like, I know that there is a solution. You know what I mean? Like, I know that like, they don't have to like fight, you know what I mean? Like, I know that like recovery is possible and that like families can sleep good at night, you know what I mean? And that you can be a productive member of society, man. Like you don't have to hurt anymore, and it is self-sabotage, man. And it's only up to that person to make that decision. But I know it works, right? I know that there's a process that can like bring all of these families like some peace and like, bring them back together. And it's only up to the individual to really, want it.
Yeah. When I talk to these parents, like one of their biggest driving forces, because if one of my kids passed, I honestly feel, to be honest with you, I'd roll up and probably die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I'd be able to cope with that. That's just the truth. I hope I'm stronger than that, but I don't know that I am.
Yeah.
But when you talk with these parents who go around and kind of do what you do just to educate people, Sam Chapman, big fan of his, Matt Capilouto, who, lost his daughter.
Yeah.
They're just like, Kris, if we can save one life, if one parent doesn't need to go through what I went through, it's worth it to me.
Yeah.
To relive that. And I think it's, the kudos to you to sort of put yourself back through all this to make a difference in others' lives.
Yeah. No, I think sometimes, right? Cause I get worn out sometimes, it's emotionally draining, like dealing with, families and just like all the emotion it can be, but like, man, I wouldn't do nothing different. You know what I mean? Like
he always tells me, he's like, what's your why? Right.
Yeah.
And like why you're motivated, why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is it when you're feeling tired and it's too much and whatnot? I think you just, you're doing it for a great purpose, right?
Yeah.
You're saving these families' lives. Like you're doing so much. And I think sometimes, the inner bit, or, I'm tired, I'm this, but like your purpose, I don't think you'll ever stop helping people, right?
No.
So again, go back, Patrick's purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
The name.
That's it. I mean, that's it. And it's we got a big ass mural of him on the wall. Like
picture of him. Yeah.
Huge, and that is my purpose. And before it was, my best friend, I lost my best friend in 2014 from a heroin overdose. I got him tatted on my arm too, but he passed away. And that's what kind of influenced me to kind of, once he died, then my family was super concerned and they were like, oh, well, you should get help. And that's, once I got clean, that was my purpose, right? My best friend. Like I'm like, I watched his family and us as friends. Like I'm telling you, my best friend from diapers, man, he just died one day, and
I couldn't imagine either.
And that really opened my eyes to like, when I finally got clean, it was, that's my why, right? Like, why am I getting involved in the industry? Like, why am I, doing these things, was because of him. And I wanted to tell his story,
Yeah, I think there's two things I kind of want to hit on too, is like the devastation that this can cause a family, right? And then two, what can family and friends do to make sure, people get help? What are these warning signs? Like, what else can people be doing?
And that's one thing that I think a lot of people that are struggling, right, or that are out there, ripping and running and doing drugs and, their family's concerned, is like, you're not just hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And like, this is like, I think that a lot of people don't realize is like what you're putting your family through. You know what I mean? Like I felt it from the other end when I got clean and my brother was getting high.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was begging him to come down to South Florida to get help, and he just wouldn't. But like, it was like every day, like I woke up, I was like, fuck, I'm going to get a call today and my brother's dead. Right. And just that feeling, you know what I'm saying? Of like a sibling, right? Let alone my mother, right? Yeah. I look back now, I'm like, damn, man, like I put through, my mom's got blood pressure problems now. You know what I mean? Like legitimate. And, you know, I think that's one thing that people don't realize while they're out there is like the damage that you're doing to your family. You know what I mean? Like you're being not just self-destructive, but I call it a family disease, right? You know, a family disease, because you're not the only one that's suffering, right? Your family's suffering too. And as far as like, you know, having resources or families getting people help is, like I said, we can go back to the fact of, you know, I'm definitely a good resource, right? Like whether someone's a good fit for, you know, my place or not, I'm always going to point them in the right direction. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm always going to say, you know, I'm always going to give you an option, right? Whatever your financial status is, whatever you're going through, whatever substance you're using, is it mental health? What, you know what I mean? Like all of these things, like I've got resources for like around the country. And I think that, you know, that's where a lot of, I get so surprised all the time. And like families don't know what to do. You know what I mean?
Is it that they don't know what to do, or do they not want to face the reality sometimes?
Sometimes
too,
it's
right?
that too,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't think people want to face up to the harsh, ugly reality of what's going on.
I mean, I met parents that just like refuse, they'll just brush it off like, nope. Like,
but what's the consequence to that?
Death.
You know,
Yeah, no, for sure.
Death, man. And then your whole entire family's destroyed. You know what I mean?
Like, what's the line, right, where you need to maybe get them in a facility or do something, right? Like we were talking earlier, like people just party and they get over or they don't.
Yeah.
Like, what's that line, I guess? Like when parents should be like, okay, I need to get this person, you know, we need to get our son help or our daughter help.
I think it's, you know, what we say, right, is like when your life has become unmanageable. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't mean necessarily your business or your financial status. It's like you as a person.
Yourself,
you know what I'm saying? I've become unmanageable. You know what I mean? Like it's really like, we call it an inside job. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an inside job. And, you know, I think if there's a concern from a family member, like they're probably on point. You know what I mean? Most of the time they're probably right. You know, now if I don't agree sometimes, you know, you got a kid that is just 18, 19 years old. He smokes some weed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to throw him in a rehab center where these kids are going to teach him how to fucking shoot heroin. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just reality is, you know, there is a line, right? Of, okay, should this person, you know, have some sort of a mentor, or is this person in need of a facility, you know? And it kind of just differs from person to person, you know? Do I think, and again, I've seen it, and it breaks my heart, right? Sometimes like parents are just like, hey, go to this facility because we don't want to deal with it anymore. And the kid's really not even like, you know, struggling. It's just like, oh, well, he's smoking weed and he's not coming home. You know what I mean? Like, and then you throw him in here with these guys that are like real deal, like, you know what I mean? Drug addicts and people that, you know, struggle with mental health. And I think that could be more detrimental. So it's kind of like, you got to weigh like, okay, what is the person's situation? You know, because sometimes just a simple like mentorship can change someone's life. You know what I mean? Can steer a kid in the right direction. And I love working with kids. You know, that's one of my favorite things to do is I'm the cool guy, right? But I'm also going to fucking tell you when you're fucking up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool with you, bro, but I'm going to tell you like when you're fucking up, right? Like I've had parents that are just in my hometown are like, hey, can you just come sit with my son and just talk to him? Like not lecture him, just be like a resource. You know what I'm saying? Of like, yo, buddy, like, you didn't fucking come home last night. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you got fucking doing, dude? You know what I mean? Like kind of keeping them from getting to that point, and sharing my experience with it and where it got me. But, you know, some people are just hard-headed as shit. You got to find out yourself.
Also with stuff like this, right? And like, you know, family members say, you know, their son needs help or their friend needs help.
Yeah.
Does that person need to accept the help? Like you said, you had to look in the mirror and like, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, would you continuously still try to put them through rehab center? Or like, you know, what does that look like too? I feel like it's just such a complex thing. We're just trying to pick your brain here.
It is. It's a case-by-case scenario, right? But I think that, yes, number one, the person needs, they need to realize that they need the help, right? I didn't accept that when I went the first time.
Rock bottom.
So I fucked up again. You know what I mean? But you never know when it could click, right? So maybe not when they come in, because I've had people come in, right, to our facility that, you know, doesn't really think they have a problem. They're just like, oh, I'm just like I'm not like these other people, like how I was the first time I went, right?
Yeah.
But then something clicked. You know what I'm saying? They heard something that was like, oh, maybe I am like these people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As far as the issues that I'm dealing with internally, and it could click while they're there, right? But also like me, right? I went through a whole like 30, 60 days of, I'm not even like these people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just doing this to make my family happy. And like, like I was completely closed off to the fact that like I really had a problem, like that I was really struggling until it took me being homeless, unfortunately. And I'm fortunate enough to have, again, like missed the whole getting clean before the whole fentanyl way, because I wouldn't be here, man. Like I was a real deal J word, right?
Well, you were homeless, living under a bridge.
Yes, literally
right?
sleeping on Lake Worth Beach. I don't know if anybody's familiar. Lake Worth Beach. They have a pier out there.
You have any photos from that time, bro?
I
Like,
don't.
of you?
I had somewhere. I have like an intake photo of me whenever I went to the rehab. I have like a picture of me on the. They give you a piece of paper when you AMA. AMA is like against medical advice, and I would like run from the treatment center. But as long as you came back within 8 hours, they didn't have to readmit you. So like I would run.
Go get high.
I would go get high. I would go to the Western Union. I would use the phone up there, and I would call my friends in different states, and I'd say like, "Hey man," because I didn't have my phone. I'd be like, "Hey, can you Western Union me like $50? You know what I'm saying?" And I'd walk down the street to 10th Avenue and get high, and then like I come back to the treatment center. You know what I mean? And they didn't have to readmit me. I would just like be high, like
Wow.
having to like hide things. You know what I mean? Like. But yeah, like it's definitely I didn't get it my first time for sure.
Yeah. I don't think most people look.
No, I mean most people don't,
Challenge. I mean, I think what people are dealing with is such a big deal. It takes them in, and something's got to really click. I kind of always have taught Ryan, like everything in life is interpersonal connection, right? Like making connections, something's got to grab them and make them really want to change.
No, absolutely. And again, like I said, like something could click, right? Like I heard a guy, right? And this is like kind of what clicked for me. Like even after I was kind of homeless, I was kind of like, like, do I really? I can maybe manage it whenever I get out. You know what I mean? Like, but then like I heard this guy, at a support group, and he literally like they say if you keep going to these meetings and like these support groups, you're eventually gonna run into somebody that tells your story, right? And this guy fucking shared his story, and I was like, fuck, dude, this guy just told my story. You know what I mean? Like, shit, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? Like I can, like, and I'm seeing the other guy, I start to pay attention to the other people that are in this like recovery community. And I'm like, dude, I was in like rehab with this guy like almost a year ago, and he stayed clean, and now he's got the car outside, you know what I'm saying? And he's got the girl, and he's got his own apartment now, and he's got a full-time job. I'm like,
I can do that too.
Maybe I could do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it comes to like, okay, I'm more open-minded to seeing that, right? And like listening to that than, some person coming up to me that's never been in my shoes. You know what I'm saying? And if it takes 50 to 100 meetings to go to before you run into that person that literally, flips the switch in you, then that's what it is, But I think really, that changed me, where I was like, well, fuck it, these guys did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could do this shit. Like, and I did it, I did what they did. I'm like, shit, if you have, if you want what they have, then do what they did. Right. And, I stayed plugged in.
The roadmap is there, right?
Yeah. It's like the proof is in the pudding. Like, how are you going to say like, it doesn't work? You know what I mean? Like it fucking works, dude. Like I was, again, like with me I was fucking homeless, bro. Like I literally had one pair of shoes, 2 pairs of clothes, fucking sleeping under a bridge. Again, coming from a good family, like this shit does not discriminate. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. You know what I mean?
Financial status,
none of that shit. But people with wealthy financial status are the most dangerous ones.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they have endless money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, look what fucking Scott Storch went through. You know what I'm saying? Like, he fucking blew $150 million in 3 years. $150 million. Bro, he used to wake up, doing cocaine and like wake up and have a tractor trailer with 6 exotic cars on it outside of his house, and he didn't remember he even ordered them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
and he's still trying to pry back today. You know what I'm saying? Still trying to, make a living today.
So I think one thing is kind of important too, right? Like in life, like it's like yesterday I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I'm
No,
I'm,
was it?
no, well, listen, it wasn't, but it feels like it, right? But all this time wasted being addicted and struggling and not fixing yourself, this is all time you'll never get back.
No, for sure.
Right? And you can't buy time.
No, Time is all we have, man. Time is all we have in this world. And that's like, again, like after my brother passed away, it brought my family closer. You know what I'm saying? And like really changed my perspective on like what matters. You know what I'm saying? Money comes, money goes.
Right.
You know, time, right? Like just seeing like you guys, right? Like just your family and like how tight you guys are. Like, man, like that's really inspiring, right? Because, you know, my family's not super tight. Like me, my brother, my sister, and my mom, we're tight. I'm just rekindling that relationship with my dad. Brother's passed away. Dad's side of his kids on that side. We don't even talk. Like it's kind of all over the place. You know what I mean? So what you guys have is like something special. You know what I mean? And like, not only have you like, you have a bond as a family, right? But you know, you have a bond in business as a family, right? And like what you guys do and like together, right? Like definitely, that's what matters.
Takes a special. I would recommend it to everyone, right?
No,
it takes a special family.
Shit, dude.
Especially
like,
crazy, but yeah.
Listen, our family, we have our issues.
That
right?
beats it. That beats
shout out to my mom too, because my mom is, you know, she's
the rock.
She's the rock. I mean, we're glued together. I don't want to say glued, but she's really. Since we're, you know, we're family. We go through everything together. Everything's gonna be all right. We're healthy.
I love it. I love it. You guys.
She's always somebody that.
Look, we're really thick as thieves, and I think one thing special, and you know, is building together, right?
Yeah.
Like with building up next, you know, being able to build with Ryan and be there and build something special, I think is really cool. And then building something that is bigger than business, if you ask me. At least that's my purpose, right? He wants to build this thing. It's his business. It's his future. I love that. For me, it's kind of cool and inspiring to give back to these young athletes, give them a platform where they can come, they can feel important, and they can build their future as part of what we're building together.
Yeah,
no, definitely. It's you know, a lot of the guys, maybe if they lose a fight, they say sorry, and
it drives me nuts.
It's also crazy though, because like, you know, we feel like they're doing, you know, it's a mutually beneficial thing, but to them, it's like we're giving them the biggest platform and we're changing their lives, and they really feel that.
Yeah.
We do put a lot into doing it. It's just. It's such an amazing feeling when I get that call. It's like, Ryan, thank you so much, man. You're changing my life. And I'm like, dude, I mean, we're working together. We're building something special, but you're doing the same thing kind of for me. It's like, I don't know. It's like, but they are so appreciative and they're so grateful. And that, like, you know, like you said, you get tired. It's a lot of work. It's this and that. But like, when you know that's how the fighters feel, the people that you're working with feel like, it's like, fucking man, let's keep going.
It doesn't take a lot to treat someone good.
Yeah.
Make them feel special.
Oh, it's not that hard.
No,
you know
but
what I'm saying, like,
bro,
smile at someone at the grocery store.
Bro,
It's so
hold
hard
the
for
door.
people,
No,
I walk by, someone just looks at me like a fucking.
Even my granddaughters, bro, it's always please and thank you. Yeah, they're little brats sometimes, this and that, but it's always please. It's always thank you. It's that true attitude of gratitude. And I think, like, especially in the fight game, right? Like a lot of these athletes, you know, they're putting their heart and soul on the line. Yeah. You know, they're going after this dream. And I think the more pleasurable we can make that experience for them, I mean, we owe them that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think they all view us as family, like, you know, in a professional way, but like all like family, right? Like they're here constantly, they're giving every single person here hugs. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not handshakes. It's hugs, you know. So.
No, that's cool to see from them. And I think, you know, when it doesn't feel like work anymore, right?
Yeah.
You've truly found what you love. You know what I'm saying? Like when it does not feel like work anymore, like you found your purpose, right? You found what you love. And like, that's kind of like with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what time it is. I don't care if I'm tired, I'm not tired. I don't wake up like, I gotta work today. Like, no, I fucking love this shit, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I literally love this shit. I can't wait to, I'm picking up a kid tonight from the airport. You know what I mean? Fucking 8 o'clock tonight. You know, like, I love that shit. I love pulling up. They come down the little escalator and like they're banged up. You know what I mean? Like fucking.
Hey, what's your best story of you picking somebody having them being all banged up? Come on, you gotta have some good stories.
Okay, so there was honestly, I want to say one of my most epic ones was probably Renee.
Oh shit, Renee Graciano.
Yes, I'm not gonna lie. She the first time, you know, first time I met her, you know what I'm saying? I was working for a treatment center and we were helping her out and they sent me to the airport. They're like, hey, you're going to pick up Renee Graziano. I'm like, Mob Wives? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, if you watch Mob Wives, you're like, oh, fuck, dude.
She's gangster,
like,
bro.
Like,
she's gangster.
Fuck, dude. Like, I better have some snacks in the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, all this shit. And dude, I pick her up and she just comes down like, or she's like at baggage claim like a bat out of hell, just like fucking gaped. You know what I'm saying? Like doing cocaine and like shit hanging out of her nose. You know what I mean? Like fucking just savage, right? And she's just in the car, just being like she was so nice. You know what I'm saying? But she was just like, you know, fucking like talking really loud, you know what I mean? Like the whole way to the fucking treatment center. And like,
what's going on through your head just by like as this is going on? You're like,
I'm
where
like,
the fuck am I?
like, what
What's
the
going
fuck?
on?
Is this really fucking happening? And then, you know, I'd say another epic one was whenever we did an intervention on DMX. You know what I mean? And like that was super powerful. You know what I'm saying? Because like that was right kind of, I hadn't been in LA that long, you know what I mean? And like I was kind of still like around celebrities. I was like nervous and shit. Like, which now I don't give a fuck because you get to LA and you're like, all this shit's cap anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
all
Like,
smoke and fucking
yeah, like
mirrors.
90% of them it's just cap. They're just regular people, you know what I mean? Like that might have a nice watch on that's probably fake or some shit. But DMX, man, was just such a humble guy. And for me, from the outside looking in, growing up, listening to DMX, you were like, oh, this dude's gangster as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never saw the vulnerable side, really. You know what I mean? And, you know, same thing with like Lil Xan and things like that. It's like, you know, these people are just people, bro. Yeah. And, you know, to see him like break down and cry and like be a human, you know what I'm saying? Like literally in tears, you know, like crying to, you know, Steve Lobel, and like, we're all sitting around in a circle and I got him, you know, get him in the back of my car and we get him to the airport and we get him in the detox. Like, you know, those were pretty like life-changing moments for me because I'm like some kid from the fucking cornfields in Southern Illinois, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not supposed to experience this shit, right? Yeah. And but you know, besides that, man, I've picked kids up that I'm fucking, you know, they're nodding out in the car. I'm fucking slamming on the brakes, like trying to wake them up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've always got Narcan in my car. You know, and just always have.
Everybody should have Narcan.
Yeah, everybody should. These days, my mom carries it. Yeah. You know, I think everybody should carry Narcan, man, because again, like I said, like it's like people are being poisoned. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I know a girl that went to pick up a couple Xanax bars. Yep. And next thing you know, she's being Narcan and waking up in the hospital, and they're having to give her chest compressions. You know what I mean? Like, yep. So she went to get Xanax bars, bro. That's a benzo. You know what I mean? Like that's for anxiety, bro. Like, yeah, no, it's not. You know, like, yeah, you can get fucked up on them, but it's like, she's not even an opiate user, bro. You know what I mean? I hear I laughed at the girl because I thought it was kind of fucking bizarre, but she told me, she's like, yeah, man, they're putting fentanyl in weed in fucking Oregon or something. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, they're just trying to kill people.
Listen, I've seen just in the work that I do, I mean, the cartels are lacing everything with fentanyl, and they don't give a shit who they hurt or kill as long as they're making money. And I think that's the problem for anybody that's still recreationally doing this.
It's not even safe to.
That's right.
You know,
but back in my day, you could smoke weed, pop a pill, do fucking whatever. Yeah, yeah. We didn't have this risk. No. Kids nowadays, even young adult, like, man, you're risking your life.
It's in all the cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had people come in and I'm like, yeah, bro, like, you know, because we drug test them when they come in, like, you're failing for fentanyl. He's like, bro, I don't even like opiates. He's like, what have you been doing? Cocaine? Wow. Well, there's fentanyl in your cocaine, bro. Just letting you know, like, you're lucky you made it here to sit in this seat alive. Yeah. Because you've been using fentanyl this whole time, bro.
So I'm not very educated. So why are drug dealers putting fentanyl and everything? Is it high better?
Yeah.
Is it cheaper? Like, why are they doing this?
It makes it more physically dependent, right? Yep. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you might not even realize you're using fentanyl, but, like, the next day, you're feeling like shit. You're going to go back to whatever it was that you were using because that made you feel good. You know what I'm saying? So, like, cocaine doesn't necessarily have like a physical dependency. You know what I mean? It's not something that they have a detox medication for. So they might throw a little bit of that in there, you know, to keep you coming back. But then sometimes whoever the fuck is doing it is putting a lethal dose in people's shit and they're just dying. You know what I mean? And it's fucking.
You know, there are stories around of people dying taking half of a Xanax.
Bar. Yeah.
Matt Capilouto's daughter took half a Xanax bar, bro, and she passed away.
Well, all these kids are doing Adderall these days, right? That's a huge one right now
like
for
the college
kids, for school or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like girls use it to lose weight. Adderall is only one component off of methamphetamine, bro. You know what I'm saying? So people are like, they'll look at a meth addict, right? Oh, this guy's doing meth. You know what I'm saying? But like, really, like you have a prescription for Adderall, so like. When you piss in a cup, you're failing for the same shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're both going to fail for amphetamines. Like, it's just the way that society looks at it is different. But even now, there's like a shortage in Adderall, right? Yep. Like, that's what I hear, that there's like a big shortage. Yep. So people are pressing them, you know, pressing the Adderall pills and making their own like components, right? And then like throwing fentanyl in the fucking Adderall. Like, what, dude?
Listen, it's true. You know, you can order a press, the dyes, all the mixing, everything that you need for under $1,000.
Yeah. No, it's easy. And they're just fucking rolling them out there. Yeah. Shit, dude, some of these Adderall pills are just caffeine. You know what I mean? They're just pressing caffeine and fucking selling them as Adderall because these kids are fiending for them, bro. Like,
I think what's sad is the human beings that do that are just so low, in my opinion. There's been stories where, you know, a dealer sells to somebody, they pass away, right? And they keep dealing the same shit.
yeah, no, of course.
They don't really
You know what's
care.
crazy as shit is there's like drug addicts out there, right? That are literally heard, you know, in New Jersey and in Newark and just even in LA, right? They'll hear someone like, oh yeah, that dude sold homeboy some shit and he fucking died. Like, shit, where's homeboy?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Where's that drug dealer?
Yeah.
You know, like
They
that
want
ass.
the best shit.
They're like,
yeah,
oh shit,
it's
he
crazy.
died. Like, I want that. It's fucking insane to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But-
really hope we can help with this fucking issue going on. I mean, it's fucking nuts.
yeah,
bro.
but there is a solution, right? And it's like pulling yourself out is hard, right? When you're in that cycle and dude, I see people on Skid Row and you know, like they're deep. You know what I mean? A lot of those people have no intention on getting clean. You know what I'm saying? They've just like, and I kind of had that mind frame, like, hey, this is my life. I'm gonna die a drug addict when I was homeless, right? And I couldn't get into a rehab center because my dad disenrolled me off the health insurance, right? I'm a drug addict. I'm gonna die this way. And I literally sometimes would wish I didn't wake up because I was so deep in depression and just in pain. And like, I get it, you know what I mean? But there is a solution, man. And if I can do it, right? And people are like, oh man, I can't. You were never a drug addict. You don't even look like a drug addict, bro. Like, no, dude, I was. You know what I'm saying? And I was on the street. And like, I had fucking just like a Justin Bieber haircut. My hair was long as shit. You know what I mean? Like, I looked like shit, bro. But if I can do it, right? Like, other people can do it too. And it's as simple as that. And it's about like opening your ears, man. And like, I think, you know, it's situational too for some people, whatever environment they're in, they got to get out of it. You know, not everybody that's a drug addict comes from a good family or comes from a shitty family. Like, it's all, you know, different situations for different people. But I truly don't believe that there's anybody out there that's too far gone.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my belief. And that's what I'll always stand by, regardless of how fucking shitty some people are, you know, to me, or, you know, just how many times they've been in treatment. Like, I'm just like, dude, like this guy can get it. You know what I'm saying? There's people that came into the rehab centers that I was in as a client that I was like, oh, dude, this guy's fucking never going to get it, bro. This guy's fucked. You know what I mean? Like, no shot this guy's going to get it. And, you know, today that guy has more clean time than me. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, and those were the guys that I looked up to that I was like, oh, this guy was fucking banged up. I'm telling you, like 15 rehabs, right? And that's where we found success too. And I kind of wanted to touch on that is we found success with our model, right? At the Healthier Choice Recovery with, you know, not discriminating against medical marijuana patients. I will not forget some of these guys that have been through 15, 20 rehab centers. There's just this one kid, you know, obviously there's HIPAA laws and things like that, but I'm still in contact with him today, and he's still clean, bro. And he's been clean for fucking 2 years, and we helped him, and he was like one of our first clients when I opened the Patrick's Purpose. And he's like, this guy is like a real, got scars all over his body, can barely move his left hand because like he shot so much dope in his left hand. Yeah. It's like fucked up. Like, I'm talking like fucking had his teeth kicked in. Like, I'm real deal, been to prison multiple times, 15 to 20 rehabs, and came through our program, bro, and now has 2 years clean today. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
And it's only because we implement the same things, right? But we don't discriminate at the same time, right? Cannabis is a plant, you know? It's a plant. You know how many people have ever died from cannabis in this world? Zero people have ever died. If it's laced with fentanyl, there's a possibility you die.
Right.
But, you know, we don't suggest that. But it's just, there's different routes, man. There's different routes for different people. And I've just, when my brother passed away is really when I was like, there's got to be other ways, man. Because I've watched people go through the same cycle over and over and over again and then just die. Yeah. You know? Like, it's like, it's insane.
There has to be something to be said about the way you're doing it and the guy that's just been to 15 to 20 rehab centers coming to you and getting clean.
The proof is in the pudding, man. Yeah. Like,
look, there's not a one size fits all for everybody, right? Like 100%. You kind of instructed me. So if cannabis works, you know, it's all that matters is the results, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, the bottom line is giving these people their lives back.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just one little component, right? I'm not saying that someone that's a drug addict, like, oh, you start using cannabis today, you're gonna stay clean the rest of your life. Like, no, bro. Like, that is not the case. If you think that's the case, then you were sadly mistaken, right? Yeah. Like, the case is there's other things that have to come along with that, right? Like with community and, you know, self growth, you know what I mean? Having goals and nutrition and, you know, drive and motivation, like all these things. And like, you know, the spiritual fulfillment, man, like getting in touch with a power greater than yourself, right? Like whatever that might be. I don't care if it's a doorknob. I don't care if it's the ocean, God, like whatever it is, like there has to be some sort of spiritual concept there, man, for this process to work. It's a spiritual thing. It's a community thing. You know what I mean? They did a test with, you know, these lab rats, right? I don't know if you guys like watch this, but they put a rat in a cage, right? And they basically put one rat in a cage and they put cocaine in the rat's water. And by itself, it kept going to the cocaine, to the water, getting the cocaine. Now they took the same rat, right? And they put him in a cage with other rats, right? And they put the same thing of cocaine right there. And the rats didn't go to the cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Like they stayed. It's a community thing, right? Like when you're surrounded with other people, you know, that understand like what you're going through and are focused on the same mission in a sense. You know, it is a community thing, right? And that's kind of like the spiritual aspect too, that like we're stronger together type of thing. Right. But yeah, that's just something cool that I had seen, and you know, I just truly believe like we can't do this shit by ourselves, bro. You don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm gonna get clean. I'm just gonna kick the shit. Like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but I think what's important is people have to know that there's help out there.
Yeah,
they've got to enlist someone like you, come to you, and get the help.
Yeah,
because you know, living a good life is worth it. It's worth the hard work.
No, absolutely. And I'm available. Like I said, man, 24/7. You know, I work. It's not work. I love helping people, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Man with a purpose.
Yeah. And I wouldn't do anything different, man. And everybody's more than welcome to reach out to me 24/7. And, you know, like I put my cell phone number everywhere. I'm not like, hey, don't give that guy my number. Don't get, you know, like my cell phone number is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like whether that's safe or not, I don't know, you know, but, I don't ever want anybody to feel like they're alone and there is no solution, you know?
And I think making the approach to you, it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be hard. It's an easy approach. Yeah. Give you a call, give an email, hit you up, give you a DM on it.
I'm surprised when people are scared to call. You know what I'm saying? Like the phone fucking weighs a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's for people that first step, but I think, you know, you've done a good job today encouraging people why to make that first step. I mean, pick up the phone, make that call. Drop that DM.
Yeah. And I mean, people tell you all the time, like they don't forget that first phone call. You know what I'm saying? That like, damn, dude, I remember when I picked up the phone and like, look where you're at today. You know, it's not because of me. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I'll never take credit for someone's sobriety or their recovery. Like I'm never going to say, oh, I did that. No, bro. Like you did that. I put the tools on the table and I didn't say, this is what you should do. This is what I did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we do. You know, now you can pick those up if you want to. That's your decision. Yep. If you do pick them up and you use them, like you have you to thank. You know what I'm saying? Like you're the one that put in the work. You're the one that, you know, retained the information and used it in life.
Yeah, but people going through stuff. I mean, it's amazing how someone like you who's trying to make it easier on them, right?
Yeah.
Like having that person to talk to. I think it's amazing. Like I said, the first time we talked, man, I left like inspired and motivated, like in a sense, like just how you carry yourself and your story.
Can you inspire him and motivate him to do some more work?
Yeah, dude. Like, what the fuck, Ryan?
I don't know what's wrong.
First off, I'm gonna go to the gym today.
Maybe tomorrow.
Ryan's hitting the gym.
Too,
He's been
I was just in Mexico with my shirt off the whole weekend. I'm like, oh god, not okay.
Thank God I got fat after I got back from Mexico, dude.
You just
I was
got
looking at my videos from Mexico too, dude. I was like, dude, you're getting kind of big, man.
Notice why I'm wearing a jacket. So, you know, I'm trying to cover myself.
Man.
Well, Nick, I just want to thank you, man. Number one is thanks for coming on the pod. We really appreciate it. But number two is thank you for what you do, right? Because if you touch one life, you've made a huge difference, not only in that one person's life, but for an entire family.
Yeah, no, 100%, bro. Like I said, you're inspiring. You're changing lives. I know you're just putting the toolbox out there for these people, but you're doing a lot more than you give yourself credit for. I truly think you are changing lives, and I wish there were, you know, some more people out there like you. And thanks for educating us. So whenever we get in these talks or whatever, we can educate people too.
Yeah, well, I want to, and I appreciate you guys having me, but I want to thank you guys for doing what you do as well. You know what I mean? Like you guys make a huge impact on people's lives and their careers, and give them a platform to be able to do what they love too, you know? And you guys should take credit for that as well, because I've seen people, you know what I mean? Like anybody I've talked to about, you know, Ryan and Kris or Miriam, is like, it's always like, you know, I fucking love those guys, man. You know what I mean? Like it's always, I love those guys. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys have that energy and you're not just in this shit to fucking do something for yourselves. Like you're bringing a platform for people to, you know, aspire in their careers.
In the long, like you, man, we give a fuck though, right?
Yeah,
It's
no,
not just a number.
yeah.
It's not just about paycheck.
Yeah,
it's not,
no,
it's not
exactly.
anything like that. We really give a fuck about
Yeah.
the people that we're working with,
Yeah.
and what we're trying to build. And
No.
you know, you're the same way. I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to doing bigger and better things with you through Up Next and
Yeah.
through, you know, the Fight Family podcast, bro, because I think getting this messaging out there is hugely important. As we know, we've got a lot of work to do together. I think
Yeah.
we'll be announcing some stuff,
Yeah, no,
you know,
absolutely.
through social media in the coming weeks
Yeah.
for 2025. So I'm
Yeah.
excited.
No, big stuff
Stay
coming for
tuned.
sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.